everyone, and welcome back. This is another Design Cuts live session, and I'm so excited to be here with the very talented and my good friend Lisa Glanz. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, everyone. This is going to be a fun session.
Yeah, it's great to see you, Lisa. Today we are drawing, or rather painting, an adorable deer in Procreate, I believe.
Yes, we are. We're going to be painting a little deer skating and holding a little flag. So it should be fun.
So without further ado, would you like to jump in?
Okay, so I'm going to start with the actual Easy Peasy Animal Drawing Kit document. So we're going to start by building our character first. So I'm just going to open that. So the first thing we want to do is obviously find, as I said, we're going to do a deer. So I'm going to find the deer's head. So I'm just simply going to turn that on. It comes standard with a cat's head showing. So go ahead and turn that off. And I'm going to turn the deer head on. And then I'm just going to expand the body layer. And I want to have him reaching, like holding a pole. So I'm just going to click on the reaching body layer. And I'm just going to take note of that number. So it's 1 reaching. And the reason why I want to do that, because I'm going to add clothing to his little body. And we need to remember what that body number is. Okay. So on the draw here layer, we're going to now start add some accessories and clothing and fun stuff. Okay. So you'll notice in the kit, it comes with this document. So this will include the bodies and the 3/4 heads. And it'll also include the brush set. So this is for Procreate. And in the brush set, you'll see all the accessories and the clothing options. And then if we keep scrolling, you'll see the front view head. So we can go with 3/4 head or front view. And then if you keep scrolling, you'll find the tails. Okay, so first thing we want to do is add some clothing. Okay, so as I mentioned, I took note of the name of that body, which was 1. And I'm going to choose the trousers. So I'm just going to click on that. Make sure I'm on the draw hair layer.
Just very quickly for a bit of behind scenes context for everyone watching. Lisa talked to me on a call weeks and weeks ago about this pack. And she said, I'm really excited about this pack. I think it's going to be something special. And obviously we had a special launch here at Design Cuts for this pack. But I've learned over the years, when Lisa says this is something special, it generally means it's incredibly special. And I just knew from that conversation, I'd seen kind of teasers of the pack, but I knew it was going to be amazing. And I think what you put together is just so different and takes things to a whole different level. I mean, like, it's so comprehensive. And the fact you get all the different poses, I just think it's like the most flexible character builder that I've seen personally.
Yeah, that was the idea, because I wanted to take away that anxiety that people have about drawing their own characters and make it as easy as possible. But then also give them scope to create their own, add their own touches to it. So yeah, hence the creation. And I hope that once what I'm hoping to do is, if it does well and there's a lot of interest for the pack, I'd like to, keep adding to it. So yeah, there's always going to be scope to grow. Okay, so what I've done is, I don't know if you noticed that what I did was I added another layer and I added a little scarf to that layer. So what I want to do now is just delete some of the areas just so that it's not so confusing. So I've gone back to the trouser layer and I'm just using my eraser tool and I'm taking away just the line work that I don't want. And if you find it confusing to use the same color for your stamps, what you can do is just use a different color. That's absolutely fine. I just prefer the same color because it allows me to have more control when I turn the opacity down later on. And I'm going to do the same for the scarf. I'm just going to take away some of the line work I don't want. And then I just want to push that area in. You'll see it kind of sticks out. It's a bit yucky. So I'm going to come over to the liquify tool. Make sure you're on push. And I just want to nudge it in a dash. So don't be afraid to modify the accessories for that particular pose. Okay, so we pretty much added, the clothing at this stage. So what I want to do now is add that pole, and on a new layer, I'm going to use the banner, but I'm actually going to delete the banner because I don't want to use the actual banner. That's way too big. That's better.
So Lisa, could I give you possibly a bit of a difficult question, if I may?
Yes.
Because I guarantee you would have thought about this. So what would you say if someone was thinking, okay, this pack looks amazing and very helpful, but by using it, am I going to lose my own style? Is my work just going to look like yours?
Well, I actually have had that question often, and I completely understand that. So that was the main reason why I left off very important features like, you know, the face, the eyes and the mouth and that kind of thing, because that's where you can really personalize it. And the bodies are pretty simplified, and it gives you scope to really add your own touches. So for example, we could have instead of using the round shape of the hands, we can turn that into hooves, things like that. And you know, this is a good starting point to at least give you a base for those shapes. But I do encourage you to obviously, you know, apply your own style. And I mean, for example, you could kind of use fur instead of a solid line, things like that. But I would say the basic shapes are kind of universal, which, you know, I don't think they personalized to me, but maybe, I don't know. What do you think, Tom? I don't think they're too personalized to me.
No, I totally agree. I just wanted to cover that because I wouldn't be surprised if perhaps some people that crossed their mind.
Yes.
But I can see, you know, our friend Teresa in the comments is saying, believe me, it does not affect your style. I've seen some of Teresa's work using this pack. I believe she may have been a tester even.
Yes. It's totally different to mine. It's amazing.
So, yeah, totally different. And we've seen a lot of people in our community hub as well sharing work that's actually used this pack as a foundation, and they all look very different because people, you're right, they put their own spin on it, their own textures and so on. So yeah, I think it's important to cover that.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
this is not to be a Lisa Glanz clone. This is simply a time-saving foundation to help with anatomy, but you still very much are the artist in control of your own style.
And if you really want to put that to the test, I encourage you to look at my Instagram feed and my stories, because that's where I post a lot of people's work that they've created using this kit. And you'll notice that every single one is so completely different. I mean, the work is amazing what they're creating with it. So yeah, it's definitely has scope for your own personal style. Okay, so I've pretty much built my character. So I want to now copy that and put that into a document that I want to use for the painting. So I'm just simply going to come over to the spanner and make sure I'm on share, JPEG, and hit copy, if it would let me. Okay. And then we're just simply going to paste that into our working document. So I'm using the Aquarelle canvas. It's the chiffon one. I'm making sure that I'm on the draw here layer. I'm just going to use three fingers to swipe down and paste. And just simply enlarge that. Probably till about there. Oops. And then we want to bring the opacity down. So this is why I like using either the same tone or the same color for the framework, so that they all react the same way to the opacity being changed. Okay, so I think that's pretty okay. We're going to create a new layer and start sketching. So at this stage, I'm just going to use my Lisa's pencil that comes with the Delicious Texture pack. But I was saying yesterday, Tom, in the Ask Me Anything session, I was saying that I'd like to actually include that pencil in all my packs. So I'm going to...
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so I'm going to do an update and actually add that to all my packs, because it's so versatile, and I don't want people to have to buy, you know, one set just to get that pencil, you know. So yeah. Okay, so I am literally just starting to trace over the line work. So you got a choice there. You can either do a rough sketch layer first, where if you want to make any changes, if you don't feel confident doing your final line work layer. I'm just diving straight in. And I'm literally adding those little special touches as I go. Again, you might want to add a new layer on top of that rather. Okay, so I am adding little fur details as I go. And you can see why this is my favorite brush. It's got that kind of really grungy feel to it, which is great for things like fur. So I'm just using the framework to guide me. And you may want to make his head, thinner, smaller. Definitely, have fun and interpret it any way you like. I'm adding some jigglies at the end.
Lisa, this feels slightly more detailed than some sketches I've seen you do that have been a bit more rough. You're kind of jumping straight in with some of these finer textures and so on.
Because for me, and I know not many people will feel confident to do that straight away. For me, the framework is basically my rough sketch, so I can dive straight into that finer detail work already. It's also a great way, if you're not confident doing that, this is a great way to actually practice that. Because, the framework's kind of there for you.
Very true. Yeah. Gives that extra jolt of confidence.
Yes, without having to fret over where I need to put the hands and the feet and the arms and the...
So I was going to ask you this question today. How do you do cute eyes? Because traditionally I would think, oh, surely eyes need to be these big, brown pools to be cute.
Yeah.
But these are tiny and they look really cute. So is there any particular rule there?
Well, I definitely think it's style preference, because there's a lot of artists out there that do cute drawings and their eyes are really big. But then they seem to use that in all their drawings. So I think it depends on your own personal style. There isn't actually a rule, I don't think, with that. But I would say the rule where it comes in with, for cuteness is the distance of the eyes. So if you keep your eyes further apart, it tends to be cuter. So even if you're going quite big, try and keep them quite far apart, because if we go, it's a funny thing. I'll show you. The minute you go center, it just doesn't look as sweet, and they almost they actually start looking a little dim. The character starts to look a little dim.
Maybe a little dim, and also like I was thinking like a busybody, like. Yes. What do you mean you haven't done your homework or something?
Yes, exactly.
So, and Deer's eyes are quite far apart, so
they are naturally correct. Anyway, so I find that just applying that basic rule of the distance tends to solve a lot of the issues of making it cute. But definitely experiment with the size of the eyes. I do sometimes do them much bigger, but generally I stick to the simple dots. And if we look at her Hello Kitty, I think her eyes are just dots, aren't they?
Yeah, I believe so. What an unbelievable brand that is around a character.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
So I just quickly want to do the ribbons. I actually find this part the hardest because it requires like a loose hand. Okay, fire away, Tom. Okay, so I'm literally just following badly the original loose line that I created, because you want that kind of free flowing line work. And now you can decide which one you want to overlap. So this one can be on top. So I'm just going to delete that other stuff, those other lines, and then finish it off over here. And so when I have kind of perfect lines that I need to follow like this, I literally just, every now and then create the actual line work. So we don't need this perfect line. So it looks more natural. Okay, so shoes. Shoes can be difficult, but we're literally going to use the shape of his foot to determine the shape of the shoe. So that would be like his sole. And we're going to be adding some skates. So that would be the skate peeking out. And this little guy is going to come low because I want the skate to be straight. So that's his sole. And then I'm going to use the shape of the foot to determine the shoe.
That's so sweet. The little skates.
Okay, so I'm just making those a little bit more pronounced. You need a steady hand. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere. I'm going to turn off my framework and see where we're at. Yep. I think he's coming on.
It's looking so good. You know what we're going to have to do, Lisa? We do this every
time.
Yes.
We need a name, people.
Yeah, it might be that time again, people.
I like the Freddie.
Tinsley.
Tinsley, that's quite cute because it's kind of...
That is quite cute.
Christmassy. Yeah, I like that one.
All right, Tinsley the deer, it is. And shout out to, who said Tinsley? Sam, community regular Sam. So thanks, Sam.
Oh, thanks, Sam. Okay, so we're going to move on to painting. And, okay, so we need this to be like continuous inking. So what I want to do is I just want to make a few adjustments to the all-rounder brush, because the all-rounder brush comes standard with what they call a fall-off, which is really handy if you're just painting leaves and things like that. But if you want to paint continuous area, we just need to change that. So in order to change it, we're just going to tap on the brush once. So it brings up your brush studio. And you'll see here under stroke path, there's a fall-off. I'm just going to make that none. Click on the other one. You'll see there's two brushes here. We're going on the second one. And I bring that all the way down to none. Make sure you hit done. And your brush should be set. If you want to bring that back to its original state, you're just going to click on your brush studio again, come down to about this brush, and then you're going to reset the brush. So that'll bring it back to how you bought it. Okay. What I've done is I've set my line work to multiply. I just like doing that. You don't have to do that. It's a personal preference. The reason why I do that, it just kind of mushes better with the artwork underneath. That's the best way I can describe it. Mushing terminologies I come up with. Okay. So the idea is we want to be continuous with our brush stroke. So I'm not going to lift my pencil if possible.
Yeah. And this is because if you do the edges, will kind of double up, right?
Yeah. So, as you can see what happened. That's fine. I'm just going to redo that. And the reason why I did that, I need to actually replace my nib. So sometimes the nib jumps. Yeah, we're at the replacing nib stage. Okay, so the reason why I don't want it, because, yeah, we don't want that overlapping. But if you do, that's absolutely fine. You can always smudge it. I just prefer to have it more natural looking, because sometimes the smudging takes away that lovely texture. So we want to keep that looking as natural and realistic as possible. So watercolor brushes are set to a glaze blending mode. That's how they get that lovely translucence. And because of that, it does mean when you overlap, you will see it. So digital is great, but it's not always perfect. Okay, so that little guy over there, I'm just going to add. And I left the framework on just because I wanted to see that shape on his face. Oops, lifted my pencil. You don't have to do what I'm doing and redo it. You can, as I said, you can literally blend it. Okay, you can see I definitely need to change my nib. It did some weird stuff there. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I should have done that before this.
Have you got a spare nib?
I do, but not nearby. I do, yeah.
Oh, it's fine. But yeah, it's just a sign of being a hardworking artist.
Yes.
Getting through nibs.
But in a way, it's a good thing because I know a lot of people don't really know that you need to change that. So sometimes having these things on video is helpful for others to go, oh, so that would explain why things aren't working. Okay, so I'm going to leave that and create a new layer for the other part of his head. And I'm going to use, I forgot to tell you. So I'm using the kit also comes with a whole bunch of palettes. And I made sure to design them that suited animals. So yeah, it's a good starting point for you if you're stuck, you don't know what color to choose. So I'm using number 3. And I've started with that kind of brown gray color. So I just want to lighten that. And a little bit too light, I think. Yeah, that's better. So I just wanted to have that variation in his face so you can see the shapes. So you could really personalize that and not have this color variation at all. Okay, so I'm going to turn the framework off because I don't need those lines anymore. And I think it's coming on. So I just want to add some color variation to the main body parts. So coming back to our body layer, I'm going to create a new layer above that. I'm going to set that to a clipping mask and blending mode to multiply. Using the same color that I used to paint the guy, I'm going to use one of the stamps. This one I'm going to use is around random blooms. And I'm literally just going to randomly stamp out. And it just gives you that little sort of unpredicted color variation. And if you have a hard edge like that you don't like, you can literally just blend it with one of the blending brushes. Come on. Procreate sometimes has a little issue. So I've just taken away that hard line. And then we're going to move on to adding some pink to his ears. Coming back to my all-rounder. And I'm just literally using slower brush strokes near the edges to make sure that I actually get that done properly. And some cheeks. I'm going to go back to my smudge tool and just smudge out a dash just to make it look a little bit more natural. And then we're going to set that to alpha lock. If I'm going too fast, Tom, just let me know. And I'm just using a darker kind of pinky color. Okay, so I'm using the bloom stamp, one of the bloom stamps. And I'm basically just made a darker color of the original pink. And I'm just literally stamping out on the edges just again for some variation. And you can go as dark as you want. It's great to experiment at this stage. And remember, we had it on alpha lock. So what that's doing is it's making sure that it doesn't go beyond where you painted, which is quite a handy thing to do. Okay, so if you can remember, we used the all-rounder brush just to paint our solid color. Then we added a new layer, which is a clipping mask. Made sure there was a clipping mask. I've set it to multiply. I do encourage you to just experiment with the blending modes because, yeah, the results can be really fun. And then I just use stamps on that layer just to create some color variation. So it gives it that even more natural look. And then we added a little extra shape to his face. And I've left that middle bit open. I'm not going to add any color.
And the shape on the face, that was also
part of the framework.
How's that been done?
Yeah, so that I used the all-rounder as well, all-rounder brush just to add that color. And then again, we use the all-rounder brush to add a new layer that has the pink. And then I used an extra stamp just to add that. Let me just zoom in there. Just to add that color variation that you see over there.
Amazing.
Or dark edges. So again, I'm going to create a new layer. If you find that you're running out of layers and you're happy with the results of the previous layers that you've created, please do go ahead and flatten them so that you can create, kind of free up more layers for yourself. Okay, I'm going to choose the darker color that's part of that palette, and we're going to work on his little antlers and his shoes. Again, coming to our all-rounder brush. I'm just kind of stroking backwards and forwards, only because I find that easier when I'm doing finicky work.
Amazing textures, though.
The watercolor textures.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks pretty realistic. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Just wanted his nose to be a dash darker. And I've just left a little highlight. And we're going to do the same with the shoes. We're literally just going to leave a little highlight to give the impression that it's kind of shiny.
Really cute little shoes. It's amazing what a tiny little sliver of white there does.
Yeah, makes all the difference.
3D, yeah.
Okay, we're moving on to the scarf. I want to use a red, so I'm just going to come over to one of the other palettes. And from number 7, I'm just going to use that kind of orangey red. You can choose any red you like. Make sure you're on a new layer. And the great thing about the accessories is that you can completely personalize them. So I really encourage you to add patterns and different things to them just to make them that extra special. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm just going to show you a quick way to add a pattern. I'm literally just leaving a gap. Okay, so we obviously want to mimic that on the other one.
Love the detail there, Lisa.
Yeah, so
how cool is that?
So definitely add all these little extra details make quite a difference. So think how you can elevate your accessories, that much more. Like instead of just plain pants, maybe you want to add stripes, maybe you want to add flowers. So yeah, this is where you have fun. Okay, so we're just going to quickly do one of the ribbons. because it's the same color as the scarf. So this is kind of fine work. As I said, I find it easier going backwards and forwards when it's so finicky. And then we're just going to blend that. Or you could leave it, because that happens in real watercolor too. But I'm just going to blend that. Much smaller though. Okay. Maybe then another one. Yeah, let's do another one. I'm just going to move on to the pants because I want to show you a technique that I use for those pants that I think you guys are going to enjoy. Okay, so when you're dealing with light colors like this cream, it's really difficult to see where it is. So what I recommend is turning your background layer off, and then you'll see the paper effects will come up, which is absolutely fine because that then gives me an idea of where I need to paint. So that's really handy for that kind of work. And also, if you wanted to, you know, eventually use as a transparent PNG, you do want to add in light colors on your white colors because you want that to actually have paint. So this is another way of making sure that all your work is basically has ink. I've also got a handy tutorial that shows you how to remove the background for PNGs. It's super easy and quick. I think I showed that on one of our tutorials, Tom. I can't even remember which one. Oh, it was the butterfly. I think it was the butterfly. Yeah. Really handy.
Yeah, if Zach, if you could link up in our Learn section, we have a ton of Lisa content. So if if you're looking for more, which I'm sure many of you are, there's tons of tutorials and live sessions in that Learning Hub.
Okay, so I'm turning the background back on, and I'm creating a new layer above that. Again, we're going to use a clipping mask, and I'm going to choose a kind of khaki, I don't know what that is, mustardy khaki color. And then using the bloom stamp. So this is where you want to experiment with size. I just want to see what we're dealing with, maybe a dash bigger. So I'm literally just stamping, kind of gives them that tie-dye effect, which is quite handy. And then on that same layer, I'm just going to add in cute little details. Brush is a dash big. So this is where you can have a lot of fun, guys, with the texture of your fabric on your accessories. You can literally add anything you want.
That's so cool. Little leaves and plants.
Okay, so I just want to, because we were kind of running out of time. So I just want to quickly show you how I deal with shadow. It's very basic stuff. It's not too intimidating. If we can imagine our light source is coming that way, the reason why I add the shadow just adds that extra dimension to the character, and it gives it kind of just finishes off the drawing. But this is personal preference, of course. So I'm going to use the rugged brush for this one, and I'm going to set my new layer to multiply, and I'm using the same color that we used to paint our little guy. And because that layer is on multiply, it's going to darken the areas that we are painting if I'm on the right brush. So very loosely, I'm imagining, as I said, light source coming from the right. And if you don't like hard lines, we're simply going to just use our smudge tool just to soften it a bit. And of course, you can play with the opacity of that layer if you don't want it so harsh. And we can really soften everything depending on how much you want to soften. So the rugged brush I like because the edges look really, I'll just show you, really kind of rough and as if water has kind of moved, you know, it's been quite watery. So that's quite handy for, I like it for shadow work. So that's my favorite brush for shadow work. Okay, so what I would do is something like that. As the scarf kind of lies over there. Sorry if I'm rushing, guys.
No, not at all. This is great. And again, the detail, like these shadows just breathe so much life into the character.
It does. Okay, so I've kind of just quickly added some shadow there. You could decide to, I don't know, go to town if you like. But that gives you just an idea of how you can approach that. And then you could really, what I usually do is I just go back in with my pencil to that pencil sketch layer. And this is when I, you know, just do some finishing touches. And if you want to do some sketch work, I find that that's, now that I have the color, I can see what I want to add. You know, any extra details. Maybe we want little things like that. Maybe you want a little stitching. So yeah, so don't be afraid to go back to rework layers. And oh, another thing I wanted to mention. So obviously deers have hooves. They don't have fluffy little hands like that. But the thing about drawing these kind of characters, you literally can make the rules. The only thing you need to kind of have or bear in mind is just have the basics that remind people of what the character is. So it's very obvious that this is a deer because he's got antlers and he's got that kind of shape on his face. So that's enough to give people an impression that it's a deer. So don't be afraid to not necessarily anatomically correctly create your animal. You know, do stuff that's fun for you.
Are you trying to tell me that deer don't wear ice skates, Lisa?
Exactly. No.
I'm going to be very disappointed if that's what you're telling me. They look rather becoming.
Yeah,
so everyone's loving this. Tinsley, I think his name was. Everyone's loving Tinsley.
Yay.
He's a charming little fellow. Everyone, let's give a massive round of applause. Massive thank you for Lisa. Lisa, as ever.
Pleasure.
Incredible watching you work. Absolutely brilliant. And we appreciate you so much jumping on with us.
Great pleasure.
Lisa, I will let you go. Thank you so much, my friend. And I'll chat very soon.
Great pleasure. Thanks.
All right.
Take care.
Bye, Lisa.